This series of programmes is about a man's climb to a sort of fame, and the effect it had on his life and the lives of those around him.
Oh, it's a bit windy today. Oh, I didn't see that. It's me, Thomas Edward, also known as TE, and welcome to another video. It's a grand video today. We've got something very special for you. We're up at Rivington Pike at the moment. Windhill's behind me. If you live in North, at least one window in your house, you can see Windhill. My brother Macclesfield can see it, and I can see it in Cumbria. That's how big it is. Rivington Pike's behind us, and Pigeon Tower's down there, and the famous Thomas Mawson Garden. But we're not up here to see any of that. That's another day, that is. Today we've come up here because it's the best view in Lancashire, in northern Lancashire, to look down on all the towns, on all the landmarks. So the Bolton Wanderers football ground down there, Lost Up Park, and you can see right up there, you can even see Manchester, some of the towers like the big Hilton in Manchester, just over the hill. But also over the hill, there's a little town, or a little northern town I should say, called Bolton, or is it locally Bolton, and we've come up here because we wanted to see Bolton, because it's a great place where a great man came from, and you already think, I know what he's going on about here. I'm up to see Fred Dibner and do all the locations, but I'm going to do some locations what have never been seen before on YouTube or documented since Fred filmed in the late 70s, early 80s. And he's a man of legend in all the working classes. He's the working man, and fame wasn't him. Fame kept him out the shed. He'd rather be in the shed than be on TV, and everyone loved it, and it was great. And we'll come to do this special video because Patreons have supported me to do this video, and we've come down for a few days in Lancashire with the whole TE family unit. So come with me and let's go and do some location hunting with me, Thomas Edwards, and learn. Every day is a school day with TE. Come on, let's go, let's get on with it. And it's a bit windy, it's blowing from over the west, and I'm just going to get blown, I think, but I'm going to walk that way where I've just come from. I'll see you in a bit.
Fred Dibner, the Bolton steeplejack, was 40 years old when back in 1978 he took part in the first of 19 films which would record the ups and downs of his eventful career. From his earliest days, Fred had set his heart on a life at the top.
To Briar Mill, and Lilac Mill was on the other side, and this is where Fred came. Very early Fred Dibner episodes, where he's on the top of the mill knocking it down, climbing up the side, and there's a railway underneath of it, what now is the Metro link.
But Mr. Courtall decided that what I'd wrecked weren't worth keeping anyway, so...
And you can't get near it because it's also a working mill, but between Briar Mill and Lilac Mill in the middle, because there's so many buildings, he had to drop it brick by brick and do it every day, and he charged £7,000 to get this job done. And Donald's down the bottom, he said, oh, he's a good man, Donald's, he keeps an eye on everything, and he was down the bottom, but it was behind there. We're going to try and get a better shot and go to the station and try and see if we can see between the two mills. So that's the plan. Oh, just a tram going there to Didsbury. It just went into a little bay platform. It was quite good. It crossed over. It was really good actually. So there they say proud to be brown, or Ben, or it's got proud to be N Brown. It says, and it's got a bridge. And look, there's a little tug there pulling a big a tractor unit pulling a trailer. It says Every on it. I like good Every. But it used to be Hermes. Well, when that bridge is there, where it says proud to be N Brown, that is the location of the chimney, what was part of the Briar Mill. And Fred's in that yard, and he's got his Land Rover parked in the yard, and the chimney's going right up for the middle of there.
All the mountain grey matter, like here, this noise of these fans going, it's impossible to shout. You see, you get some...
And because the chimney was between these two buildings, what I was explaining before, he couldn't fell it. He had to take it brick by brick, and he charged £7,000, and in today's money, that's £33,000. He's up there, and Donald's at the bottom, and he says, good man, Donald, he keeps me straight in now. Pretty much, Donald would drag him out pub at lunchtime, and because he was teetotal, and Fred liked to drink a drink or two. And he also, Donald was always watched him. He said, if you had some young lad down there, some labourer, some young lad, he said he'd be always looking at some nice girl in the offices. So Donald was down the bottom with Land Rover, and then
Donald, my labourer down there, he's like a very important man, you see. You see, you get some young lad, like his heart can be in right place, but if he sees a girl in the office, he wanders away, and sort of when you need him, you know, you look down and he's gone.
And then he comes down for lunch and he gets his sandwiches out and he says, oh, cheese again. And he's eating it there and it's in that yard and that's where it is.
Good, look at that. Something's gone wrong with it, Donald. Oh, bricks are coming out at the whole lot, aren't they? Cheese butties again.
And he takes it down bit by bit, and that's the very, I think, episode 1 in the beginning. I think it's called episode 1. This is the chimney he's at. What isn't there anymore because he took it down, and in 2000 they built a bridge across there, and that pretty much tells you roughly with the location of the chimney. And that mill there is Lilac Mill, and I think the history goes Lilac Mill bought this mill, and that's why there's 2 mills now, and there's a bridge going between them. So that's the history on that, and there you go. That's another location of a Fred Dibner chimney what I don't think's been documented. So there we go. That's pretty good, that is. And I can match it all up on the episodes, and you can see it for 2022 and then back down to 1978. So if you want to come to it and see that like location, like looking at the bridge there where the chimney was, the station's called Sean Crompton. It's a metro link, so it's a tram, and down the side of the platform you will see this little track, this little green track. Depends what time of year. In the winter this won't be overgrown, and in the summer it'll be overgrown. So look out for that track, get down there and you'll be able to look through at it and the 2 mills. Because you can't get in the mill because it's still a working mill and it's very difficult. Now loads of people in busy vests telling you off for filming. And we've come to Moss Mill, what still exists, but actually a long time ago when this mill was sort of created in the late 1800s, there was 3 mills on there. There was Era Mill, what was behind camera, Moss Mill, and then there was State Mill on the other side. And in 1979, Fred came here and he spoke to the man, because the mill, Era Mill, what was behind, was shut in 1977, and he came a few years later in 79, and he came and talked to the man about knocking the 2 chimneys down. The 2 chimneys were, the furthest mill nearest Moss Mill was Moss Mill's own chimney, and then the chimney on this side was Era Mill chimney, and he said I said it'd be 400 foot little and then 500 foot bigger, and that's what he knocked them down for, and it's a proper big felling job.
This is the job, Fred. These 2 chimneys, they won't drop it.
Oh, when you've got rid of mill, there'll be plenty of room. Like, I come the other day and had a look. There's an house over there on that corner. Well, if we can keep it away from that, where we don't want to upset the neighbours.
More towards the canal side.
Yeah. And we don't block canal up as well.
Make sure we don't.
Aye. We'll try and do them both at the same time, or not,
Well, do 2 for the price of 1, then you're all right.
Well, 400 foot little one and 500 foot big one.
That's the cheapest you can do, is it?
And it's the most famous scene you'll see on Fred Dibner's episodes, especially the early episodes, where he knocks it down and then he's going, it's going, and he goes onk, and then he goes done for, and it goes down, he goes done for, and then he goes, did he like that? And that's the most famous episode, and it was on here.
Going. Done for. Do you like that?
This very street, this is Woodbine Street East, this is, and I've got to thank Andy the Lens for showing me this location so we can come here today. And it was on here, and I can picture it all B-roll, and we can set it with the old episode, but all that mill there, and that little sort of mill there of that water tank's on the video, and there's actually policeman saying, Freddie said that the health and safety man's there, because all the TV's there, and policeman says, even health and safety man said, what's in that tank? And Fred said, he asked me that as well. I said, I don't know.
more of a mind than you. I think it's going to go that way, and the wind's blowing that way.
If it goes backwards, he says, you know, there's not a bloody 3 million to 1 chance.
He says to me, what's in that tank? I said, I don't know. I thought you'd be able to tell me that.
I don't bloody know. He asked me as well.
So that's all in there, and all the street is on it, and the policeman putting tape across it so no one came near, but it was on here. And now...
Right, can we have everybody out, please? And beyond the white tapes.
And now it's Riverside Industrial Estate, and Moss Mill has like outlet things, there's like storage units and like businesses in it now. So yeah, it's on here. This is a place what not many people documented, and it's in Rochdale. We're on the edge of Rochdale. We've just come off Junction 21 on the M62 and got into edge of Rochdale, and we're on Woodbine Street East. Actually, we're at the next location, we're at Swan Lane, and it's a chimney that still exists. And what Fred had to do on the Swan Lane chimney, he was very upset because it was the last proper chimney in Bolton, or Boughton as you say.
This particular job is sort of a bit upsetting to me because it's like the last spinning mill in Bolton with a proper chimney.
And what he did, they paid him £4,500 to shorten the top of it, and it had all. He had to demolish all this fancy work on top of it, and he had to. I don't know how many feet he dropped it. It's a lot shorter today than it was before he made it shorter. Here, he was on film saying he developed, like the old steeplejacks used to do, a bucket system. And he made him out of 2 melt churns and some wire and a brake drum, so he could put the bricks in and send it down to the floor, and then as one bucket went down, another bucket went up, and like that.
This contraption I sort of invented myself purely through watching the steeplejacks of like 1940 and 50, and then I saw an improvement on that, 2 milk churns on a similar sort of setup that we've got here.
And it was here, and now it's just starting to rain on me now. We might have to get in the car, but this is Swan Lane, and it says Swan on it right up there. Swan and then Lane, it's really good. And it's all sort of derelict, half derelict now, but I think we might have to scarp it in a minute because I'm getting all wet. As you can see there along the top of the, along your sort of drain pipes in your gutters, there's some, because of Swan Lane as in the mill, it's got swans sticking out the side of the mill. I can see about 2 there, one at the end and one at the other end. There's probably some around the other side as well. It's very interesting, that. It's an interesting building. Right, so we're on Croft Lane in Boughton, or Bolton, however you want to say it. We're at his mum's house. So when he was 17, he built that chimney up there. He said it was like the chimney next door. It had 4 pots on and only really one worked. So he knocked them all down and built his own chimney, and he didn't really design it. He sort of built it, and that's how it ended up looking like. And he'd go around clean it, and his mum said, "Where have you been?" He said, "Well, I've been here and there," but he ran round and cleaned it.
Oh, how do you do? Is it all right?
Where have you been?
Oh, well, we're, not so well. Doing our best. It'll all be done very smartly and speedily as possible.
Because when he was in Germany in war, well, he wasn't in war, when he did his service, I should say, he saw a man with a rope and a like what you clean your chimney with, and in the Europe, they drop your chimney sweep down like a lot of bricks going from the bottom. They drop it from the top and then they cover the fireplace at the bottom so stuff wouldn't come out. So yeah, there it is. It's a listed chimney, a little chimney in Bolton. I bet people living in it now think it's a right nuisance and it lets out rain down the chimney and everything like that, but it's listed and you can't do anything with it. So there you go. And it's got such a good draft on it, it sucks your slippers off your feet.
It's got a lovely draft on it, you know. Suck your house slippers off when it's going at bottom.
Since you were last here, like, I've bought my house off the Earl of Bradford. This character rung up from Cambridge and said, you know, we're coming up to have a chat with you see. And Mr. just forgotten his name, but he liked to look at your steam engines. And I thought, and then Cambridge, you see, they big steam men down there, you know. And they would come up and I'll impress them with my steam engines and then I'll get a bit knocked off price at the house. Anyway, up they came and, you know, it happened to be raining that day, so we didn't bother going to work, and we had steamroller taking over in the shed. And this man from Cambridge appeared to be quite impressed and said, well, how much will you give me? Well, for this here house, you see. And I wandered around showing him all the bad points. So there's a 9-inch bulge on the back, you know, and it's a bloody wonder it's not all in the river, you see. And a bit of time went by, and cutting a long story short, like, we got it for £5,000 and all this land and everything.
Oh, we're at Fred Dibner's house, and it's a glorious day. I tell you what, it's a lot better than yesterday. And what a place! It's totally like what you see on TV. Nothing's changed apart from I think the curb's got a bit wide and the road's slightly different. The layout's different. But we'll talk about that bit in a minute. But the front still looks the same. Look, all done up, nicely done. Just don't use the front door because the lads who own it at the moment just work round the back and they have it as a car garage. And they have the kitchen as a mess room, but the rest of the house is locked off because they don't want to touch it. Good lads, they know what they're doing. But it's a funny house after he died because everyone tried to turn it into a museum, a B&B, and it just didn't happen. And then they tried selling it for stack loads of money. I think it sold for only over 200,000 in the end. Me and cameraman could have bought it well under our budget. We could have been living here. Thomas Edward buys Fred Dibner's house. Wouldn't that be good? Anyway, I'm getting sidetracked. So here it is. It's actually 121, not 124, 121. And it's Earl of Bradford Estate Gatehouse originally. Look, 1839, I think it is. No, 1854 it is. And it's a grand house. It is a proper gatehouse, lovely. And you can see, Fred, I like this. You can see where he's put his big bars and his nuts on it. And he put them in, but the road was more here then, and he's putting them in because his back wall was bulging out and he had to bring it in.
Right, next one, Donald. You don't fall off there. No. You've got the square bit out the middle.
Well,
it don't matter really. Just keep screwing. It'll move out. Right. Oh, that's it. Beautiful.
He was always scared of it falling out, and he heard an explosion one day, and it was a gas explosion, and he thought all the back wall and his house had come out.
I think I was lying in bed and there were one hell of a bang, and I thought, that's it, the backs fell out, the outside 4.5 fell out of the bloody place, and we're under a bit of a misapprehension. It was actually a gas explosion, you know. Like, the wife come running upstairs screaming, no eyebrows, a big hole burnt in front of her dress. Bloody gas cooker had blown up.
But I think a guy came up from down south, and he said, oh, I'm pressing with my tractor engine, and he got his tractor engine out, frapping over, and he for £5,000. I think he got a bit knocked off because he'd impressed him so much. But it's lovely. It's a lovely house. It's a well Thomas Edward Street kind of house. And he's got his blue plaque on front. So that's good. Maybe one day TE will have a blue plaque like that. But anyway, we're going to look at these extensions. So originally it's probably quite a small house because it's only a gatehouse. It would have been really tiny. And it says on the end 1984 when he did the extension. Obviously, when he got a bit of cash in the bank, he went, oh, do an extension. In his family, he needed more space for his family as well. So the extension was built on the end, and that ball on the end up there, it's not the original ball because it doesn't look big enough. He got this ball and he was stood with one of his guys. Someone found it, some teacher's house, and he think he'd sell it, and he's looking over at wall with this big ball in some guy's garden. He said, well, next to Fred, he said, well, he's a teacher and he's always talks about bringing his children down to your yard, Fred, and we'll maybe get that as in exchange of payment.
Oh, do you think we'll get it off him, like, you know?
I don't know. I'll have a word with him. I'll probably see him tonight anyway. I'm doing a job for this guy.
Yeah.
When I came up last time, I spotted it in the garden. I didn't say anything to him then.
Yeah.
But that's the one. It's perfect.
Yeah, it'll be just right. Proportions, won't it, for top of gable end?
Could do with two of them, really. And there's another one somewhere.
Yeah. You think we can get it off him?
Oh, I think so, because I know the guy who owns this place.
Yeah.
And he's a teacher, you see.
Yeah.
And I know that in fact, he mentioned he'd like to bring the kids down to your yard to see the engines, you see. So I can work a deal in. That if he brings the kids down, if you feel that you have his stone ball, then sort of payment, if you like.
Yeah, I'm game if he is.
And there's actually a video putting that up, but I don't think it's original ball. It's slightly different, and it's got a tapered diamond top on it, hasn't it? But it's great, isn't it? It's amazing. It's blowing the TE mind, it is.
Got us all. Right.
Well, got it on that.
Yeah.
On that pin.
Oh, wait a minute, we might all end up with big what's this, have you?
Okay. So, that's it.
How's that?
Superb.
Yeah.
How's it look?
Looks all right from up here. Yeah.
Oh, it's terrific, isn't it?
Yeah, a lot better than the other thing. Let's go downstairs and have a view
across the road.
Yeah. Don't think it'll blow away so easy, will it?
Oh, 1984. That's when he did this extension. And he had all scaffolding round here on TV. It was good. And he's putting his ball up. And he's going in and he gets that nice sort of industrial scene and he puts it on top of his bed when it's all finished. And he's been up all night doing all his sanding and his floorboards. But on the back, I don't think it's on this side, on the back, his bits above his windows and the lower bits of his windows are all old tombstones that some vicar gave him because he was struggling, because it's a listed building. He had to build it exactly as a listed building. He needs certain rules you go by. So he was really struggling on stuff like this on the back. So a vicar gave him a load of tombstones. That's quite cool. It's rock in America, that is, isn't it?
The place is getting a bit overcrowded now, and like we'd decided that we'd build a new wing on it, you see. And so the thing is, with it being a listed building, everything's got to look just right. And so you've got to have second-hand bricks. So after many a month of looking round at second-hand bricks and various buildings that were about to have the big hammer, we found these about 10 houses in one row, and 6 of them had never been messed about with. They'd never been pointed or anything. And the bricks were perfect, you see, a perfect match for the existing ones. So we went with 2 Land Rovers, the wife, me, Donald, and father-in-law, and another lad, and we literally took the front out of 6 of them and brought it back here to build the place out of. And then the lad who did the drawings got carried away, you see, with all this fancy stonework, you know, and stone's expensive stuff, and we had another windfall. We met this vicar who said, you know, I've got all these gravestones here, like, you know, you can have them if you'll shift them. And so, you know, there now are the window heads, the mullions and the window bottoms. The thing is that, you know, I'm a bit worried in case the bloody place will be haunted when it's finished.
But I was just having a look through the back. You might not be able to see, but in this window here, you won't be able to see. In this window is his trap door above his stairs, and that's when it was counterweighted on there was a drain pipe on the back weighting it. So when it pulled down, the weight would go up, and then when it went back, the weight would go back down. And it's through the back wall. And apparently he stored a bit of gold in there. You know, he liked his gold bars. As a bit of show, that's old school showbiz in a way. Even though Fred didn't like showbiz because it kept him out of his shed, he wanted to be in his shed rather than doing showbiz. But he had gold bars. That's showbiz. That is having a few gold bars tucked away. When he was running out of cash, I'd get one of them out, go and get milk that, and get some readies out. So there you go. The cameraman actually's been here a few months ago and actually been in the house. Now the owner isn't about today, so he can't get in the house. But the thing is, I wouldn't film in there anyway because it's someone's house. Someone owns that. I'm not going to go around filming it. I know a few people have, but I'm not going to do it. It's private dwelling at the end of the day, and that's bottom line. So we're not going to do that. So just thought we'd film outside and just film over at the fence and backyard, and then we're off to see his grave next. I think that's the plan because he's only over the back. So we'll go and do that next. That's his house. I've touched his house. I can feel the power. We're at Tong Cemetery. It's just round the corner from Fred's house. It's actually in Woods, the house. He always said he always fancied getting fired into the river in a coffin. That's what he always said. But anyway, we come in for the main entrance up there, and you come through the big grand gates and some cobbles, and then it goes onto tarmac. And then you come down along straight, and your first left is this here. And you come down your first left. And actually on the corner of the first left is where he was talking, he was leaning against the stone, and he was talking about, there's actually a man in here who was eaten by a lion. And the first man in Bolton.
My house is sort of just over there behind all them trees. Like in between there and here, there's the river. And then this, of course, is the cemetery, you know, where we'll all end up eventually. In here, actually, somewhere, there's the first and I think only man in Bolton to be killed by a lion. It seems that they'd not quite got the preparations right. Like they got this big cage at the local Wakes Week thing in 1890 something, and they had these braziers with big long iron rods, you see, and somebody forgot to light the bloody fires, you know. Like, anyway, the lion got the man, and there were no iron rods, red hot iron rods for get him off him, and so he ended up in here, poor fella, you know.
So he was up there talking about that, and he was talking about the tombstones that were in the river when you had a great flood, and it ripped some of the tombstones, so you can still see them in the riverbed.
They had a big flood once, and it washed one or two of them down the river, you know, like the corpses there is. The thing is that, you know, I don't know whether there's any truth in it or not, I don't know, but I know down in that riverbed there's all sorts of gravestones.
And then you get to this junction here and you can park to it right, and where T's brothers stood behind me, that's where his grave is. It's not grand as you'd think it'd be, it's very subtly done. It's quite good, it's how I would have it. And he's just up there, so we'll go and have a look. Oh, Fred Dibner, remember, 1938, MBE 2004, much loved steeplejack. Wow, look at all his spanners, what people have left him. Look at all his spanners, look. It's good, isn't it? All his fans have come, and bits of family and that. Pretty good, isn't it? Just in Tong Cemetery in Bolton, it's just a nice little grave, not much around him. There's probably someone here, there's no headstone on it. And that's, you know, it's just there. You just think all those celebrities, like in America, if this was in America, you'd have a massive, like he always said, he fancied the chimney, didn't he, of his gravestone?
Gums, you know, I think you couldn't really find a more peaceful and nicer cemetery than this, you know. It's nice and quiet, you know, they cut the grass regular. Not that you'd notice, like, when you're 6 foot under, but it's much nicer than being turned into a little plastic bag or a tin can full of fag ash, isn't it? And Sort of besides, I wouldn't mind building my own gravestone, you know, like make one like a chimney with a staging round the top, you know, lightning conductor on and everything. Very fancy, you know, one with a beautiful fancy top on it.
But in America they would do that, they'd go over the top with it, but us being Brits, we're very sort of like it just right and just nice and not a lot, we don't like shouting about ourselves, that's what I'm trying to say. So there you go, and it's good, isn't it? So that's, if you want to come here, Tong Cemetery, Bolton, you come through the main gate, you come along there, first turning on your left, and you come down, and then you get to behind us. Park up on left, live here, our BMW's parked down there, and you come, get to there, and you just walk straight up here, and it's there, slap bang. But I want to show you something on his grave, what's a bit not many people see when you come and see it. And always remember, when you come in a graveyard, never step on people's things, you've got to step over them. It's like when you walk over trees, you never step on the roots, because that's their feet. So you always jump round them, always up the middle. So, at the back here is, you probably have to point, there's a gold spanner there, little gold spanner. Not many people find that when they come here. It's sort of, as Greg Billington, one of my patrons, so that's an Easter egg, that. It's got a little gold spanner on the back. Just think they came here with his tractor engine and with his coffin on back, and it's filmed in here somewhere on these roads. Pretty good, isn't it, when you come back all these years later to see the lay of the land, I like that word, to see the lay of the land of how it all happened with TA. So there you go, there's his grave. So we come to Deansgate in Bolton, or Boughton, and to this bit of shrubland here with a few trees on, what look like they've been here a bit longer than 40 years. And this is the location of where Barnardo's charity shop was on here. What joined up to that building now, it was like a terrace along here, and it was Fred Dibner's first proper showbiz, as I like to call it, where he turned up with got a tractor engine, came up there, and I've weighed it all up to find this location. He came up here, stopped at the side of the curb here and got off. There's all these women around the Barnardo, and it had this red tape across the door, and he got the gold scissors and cut it, and he went, I haven't done anything like this before.
Where is it? Yeah then, good morning.
It's very nice to see you again. Thanks very much for coming.
You got the scissors?
Yes, I have got the scissors. On behalf of Good Honour, thank you very much for coming. I'd like to first of all give you a badge.
You got the champagne?
Now, Barnardo, help her. If you'd like to step this way, the ribbon awaits.
Morning. Never done anything like this before, you know. Yeah, you're right, love, there is. Oh, yeah.
And the lady in the background said, it was always the first. And he went, yeah, you're right, love. And he cuts it and he gives the scissors back, and then he's inside talking with them, drinking champagne. Drinking champagne. Oh, there's another one. Oh, it's all going on. He was drinking champagne and he was telling all these women in Barnardo's that tractor engines don't answer back. He just hits him with a hammer, you know, and his first wife Alison's there just laughing at the side of him.
I now pronounce this venture duly well and going, you know. Ah, put the claw sign the other way around.
Right.
That's it.
Thank you very
Oh.
much.
Oh yeah, one you can have your scissors back. Put your finger over it all quick.
Oh, you just sing
Thank you very much. Thank you. Good help.
Cheers.
Traction engines are good things, they don't answer back, you know. You can hit them with the hammer, you see. And they don't send out, you know.
How much time do you spend on your traction engine?
Oh.
Well, it's breakfast with it, it's dinner with it, it's tea with it, and then back out.
It's in here, somewhere in here. There was a charity shop along here and it's all been kaput. It's been demolished and all gone. There you go, that's another location what's never been documented on YouTube in 2022 or in the modern generation. It's very much busy now. Lots of cars about and lots of fire engines going past. And we're just behind us here. If you want to find it, this is Deansgate. Our car's parked at car park over there. You might be able to see it. And that car park's 124 Deansgate. You put it in your Google map. And then on the corner's the Greyhound, and then there's the Hen and Chickens is up there. So that pub on the corner there, and that pub there, the Hen and Chickens, is actually on the Fred Dibner episode. You can actually see it.
There's a fella down the road from here who actually used to live quite close by me, but he made a lot of money and moved into Cheshire, you see. He's a bit of a wild lad, you know, sort of thing. We call here sometimes on our way by. Nearly always ends up as a booze up, you know, and get in trouble with the wives, like. It's over. Come on, get up.
Come on, Auntie Maisie, yeah? Get me handbag and some clean trousers for Caroline.
You pay a lot of rates around here. Bloody roads are bumpy outside, isn't it?
Oh, Alison, present you come
Yeah, very full of bloody potholes, you know, you want the rate reduction.
you're talking to me.
Stop round the corner.
You told me about me.
Yeah, but have a go with you. All this last night, we stopped at some pub called Navigation. Yeah.
Who brought the dog? Is it a bit?
Yeah.
Just what we want, we got a dog.
She gets on well with it.
So I hope you can hear me over the traffic, but we're in Bowden, just off the A56, and we've come to Bucklow View, and Bucklow View plays an important part in Fred's journey to Castle Park. He comes and sees some friends who's made a bit of money, and he's moved out, he used to live near Fred in Bolton, or Boughton, and he's moved to Cheshire, he's become a bit posh. So he's moved up there. Now the house up there, what you can see directly, where this 6 Series Grand, well, that was an expensive plate, 82 AF. Right, see, it's a lot of cash around here. Anyway, that big house up there, you can see what I've just filmed. house was there, you can see it on the film of Fred's, but the house next door looks exactly the same as that house, but it's been knocked down. It's a new Cheshire mansion now, and the house on the corner has actually been knocked down as well, and because the house on the corner plays a good part in replicating this was the place, because it had big long windows in the back. But luckily Google Maps, they've got old pictures of the house, well, not the house what Fred went to, but that corner house, so we can sort of line it up, and I can thank Andy the Lens for finding this information. He stayed up to 3 a.m. in the morning to find out, listening to Fred on his headphones, that he came here, and he worked it out, because the night before he stayed in the navigation, and then he went nosebag, what I filmed just before at the Swan Hotel, and he worked it out, and this is it, and it's exactly the same road, and you can line it up because of that big house up there with the double garages and the little walls. So as you can see, Fred coming up in his steamroller into Bucklow View. The thing to note is where my cursor is, those long windows, note that in your head. And he comes up into the estate, it's all sort of nice plush lawns. It's nothing like that anymore. Everyone's got fortified hedges around their houses now if you go today. But one of the last things left in the estate, what hasn't been glorified by Cheshire Mansions, is, just got to go slightly back there, is where that beetle is on the left. There's a little wall next to it, and I can show you a better view of that if I move it on. So they come out the house what doesn't exist anymore, it's been knocked down and it's a Cheshire mansion now. So when they're talking here, you can see that wall in the background. Note them in your head, because I'll show you on Google Maps what you can still see today. So this is the view you see today on Bucklow View. So this big white house here is actually where Fred's friends came out of. Now it's a totally different house to what it used to be. You come down here, there's sort of the new drive. I think when Fred's friends were there, the drive was a bit further up where I was before. But the two things to note was, the last thing I said is, look, remember that wall. Now next door, the house still exists, and look at the wall there, it's still the same. You just come to the front, there's a house with a double garage. You can see it quite clearly on Fred. So that hasn't changed much. I bet you that's still old money. It's not being bought out, knocked down and rebuilt. You know, that's probably still the original owners, or maybe the second to original owners. So the two walls still exist. And then I also told you to remember those long windows. So today there's a big hedge around that house. But if we go back a few years, we go back to 2009, there's those long windows. And that's the original house. It's still a proper, like, 60s, 70s sort of designed, built house. But now it's actually been knocked down. The day I went, it's a completely different house. It looked like a Grand Designs house from what it used to be. So there you go, there's the long windows. And he came around that corner, there's that big plush lawn on that corner. And he came round up here, and the Beatles parked there with that wall. And then he came round and he came out of the original house here. So there you go, that's another TE find, but it's actually an Andy the Lens find. That was, all credit goes to him. So there you go, that's it. Look, Tesla's going in now. But back then, in over 40 years ago, Fred was going there in his tractor engine and his white shirt all covered in oil up there. My mum keeps saying, how did he get a tractor engine up there? And I was saying, well, about 40 years ago, this road was dead. Didn't have many Cheshire money going up and down it. Even though it was money, it wasn't mega money.
I'm ready for this.
Nice.
I'm ready, yeah.
Come on, chick. Get on with it. Long way to go. There you go.
So you walk up to me there, I was just in Bucklow, or Bucklow Hill, and the Bucklow garage is up there, and they look like they were a Hilux and Mercedes specialist from what I can work out. But anyway, we're here outside the Swan Hotel, and this is a location what's never been recorded, and we're probably the last few months this will get recorded before this gets demolished, or half of it will get demolished. So Fred, when he's going to Hassel Park in the late 70s, he's on his roller with his van and his family, and he's been and seen his friends at his posh estate, and he comes and has some nose bag. And on the video, the tractor engine's parked here where these traffic lights are with his van on the back.
Long way to go yet.
And these concrete posts here are still original. I know, it's still 1970s original, so they've been there as long as since Fred's been here. And behind that little bin, I think those two concrete bars there, those posts, he was sat on a seat and a metal table, some metal chairs with his family, and
I'm ready for this.
and Alison, and some little lads come up to him and say, how many gallons of water does it use? And he said, well, he says, for 8 mile, he says, it's 80 gallons of water. And then he was like, then the little lad asked about coal and how much coal it used. 500 weight of coal from Bolton to Hassel.
How many gallons of water does it take?
Oh, for about 8 miles, it takes about 80 gallons. Yeah.
Do you use a lot of coal?
Well, not really. Sort of, we come all the way from Bolton, which is maybe 25 miles from here or something like that, on about, what, 500 weight.
And he's on there, and you can line it up because of the Swan entrance there, and the windows on the lower end of the pub are all the same. They're new glazing, they're not single pane anymore, but they got that like bay window sort of style to them, and that's very like it was when Fred was here. And also when Fred was here, you can just see in the background where those parking bits is, there's like, you can see the bottom wheels of like a Cortina, a Mark IV Cortina.
Come on, chick, get on with it.
On the other side there. But I say we're here in the last few days before it gets knocked down. The Swan Hotel in Bucklow, all the locals have been trying to save it for the last 2 years since it shut in August 2020. And even a local put £1 million offer in to save it. You have a local pub. But as they always do, money is involved, and they can make more money than £1 million, someone using it as a pub. They want to knock the back half down, what's a Premier Inn, what's new, what wouldn't have been here when Fred was here. And they're going to knock that down and build houses on it, and the original part, what Fred would have got in and got his nose bag in, is going to be, I think it's going to be apartments, and it's going to happen very soon. The Cheshire Live paper online have done very recent articles, only like this month just gone. So yeah, we caught it before it gets ruined. But anyway, that's a very much hidden Fred Dibner location. Brought you to where he had his nose bag there, and his tractor engine was sat here. That's pretty good, that. And those concrete bars, I've just got to touch that to say, you know, Fred could have touched that, and I've done it now. I can tick it off the list. So there you go.
Anyway, by this time, we're doing about 25 mile an hour down this hill. Halfway down the hill, there's a bend in the road, not quite 45 degrees. No, there's no way we're going to get round a 45-degree corner.
We're at the Hassel Park entrance, is over there, and we're on the Holmes Chapel Road, and on when Fred's coming to Hassel Park, they're filming going past St John's Church, what's just there. It's overgrown, you can't see it, and he goes in the main entrance here. Now Hassel Park in the TE world, in my world, I've been coming since I was a baby. Like maybe only a few weeks old when I came, no, a few months old. I was born in May and it's always in August. So I would have come here then as a baby and then have here since then. And I think even when I was young, I probably would have seen Fred. I was born in the late 90s. So yeah, he came in 78, it's been going a long time. But before I was born, my mum's always been coming in, a cameraman. And we've actually got old photos of the year when Fred came in 78, when it was filmed. So we got some old photos then. But unfortunately not with Fred on. But yeah, the main, like, all the tractor engines, all the show vehicles go in this entrance, and this is like the main entrance up to the hall. And then everyone what pays to go in, you go a bit further up there and you go in, you park in a big field, and it's a proper parkland field with big trees, and it's great. When at night time you go back to the car park, you brew up and you wait till the fireworks happen on Saturday under these big trees. It's one of the best tractor engine rallies in the northwest, Sassel Park. So this is where he came. And that bridge behind me there, I was just looking, it's the camera on that day, they must have climbed down the side of banking and filmed him coming around that corner where that bus is coming now.
Off the edge of the road, we're in a big field. But the field has even more of a slant than the road.
But you can't get down there now to redo it. But it's quite a dangerous road today. There you go, there's another Fred location. Right, we're at the next location. This is Last Drop Village. It's been here a long time, and when it was built originally it was proper Last Drop Village where it had nothing around it. It was just on a hill and you could see a whole panorama view, and they've got a Affinity pool up there, and the poor sods are in this pool and they're looking into someone's brand new house now, and originally they would have looked right down onto Lancashire Plain, but it's not happening anymore. Anyway, we're here because this is the location where Fred Dibner crashed his steamroller. Well, he didn't crash, it wasn't done intentionally. He, as it in his words, it was slurring and it picked its feet up, where it picks up and then it just, you know, they're not spinning, the brakes have got holes, and they got, so when you've got metal going on tarmac, big tractor engine wheels, and it hits a bit of rubber, it hits a grid or something, it will pick its feet up and then it starts sliding. And it picks its feet up and it turns into a big, as Fred said, it's a 10-ton sledge. And it was down that back hill there, and we'll show you what he hit into now. Oh, over here, spin round, over here. This post got rebuilt now, but come over here, you can look up here, before I tell you about this post, let me get over here. Up there, is the back entrance, so to speak. It's a one direction, maybe it wasn't then. Came down there and it picked its feet up with his 5-ton trailer on the back, and he'd actually been to Last Drop Village to drop off some hexagon stones, the holes in the middle, what he couldn't get rid of, but so he managed to sell them to here. And apparently they've been sold since. There was some eBay listing where someone bid on them for £32 for 9 bids. Anyway, he came down here, he was going home, and it picked its wheels up and he was sliding down here, and someone in the trailer jumped over the wall to get out, and Fred before those houses behind us were built, it was a field and a big drop, and I think there was a hospital, wasn't there? And he didn't want to go down there. He could see it in the paper, his tractor engine going, his roller going for the back of the hospital. So he saw the post at the bottom, he was like, that will stop it, that'll slow it down a bit. So he smacked this when it was obviously the original one, before this had got rebuilt. Smacked this and it ripped the front forks apart with the wheel, and the wheel managed to get the chain, managed to hold it, and and it snapped the horse on the front in 2 pieces. And a guy came out with a camera and taking loads of snaps, and when Fred went to pick those pictures up later, the silly bugger hadn't took his lens cap off and never got any pictures of it. So this is where it was. This is another Fred Dibner location. So all you need to do is get yourself up to Last Drop Village, find this driveway here and that post, and Bob's your uncle, Fanny's your aunt, as they say, and you found it. So there you go, that's another Fred location. Aye.
I've had 2 disasters with this steamroller. One day I had this mountain of stones, you see, that a very posh restaurant decided they'd buy a load off me for 60 quid. And I said to them, like, I'll deliver it by steam with my steam engine. So we loaded this big trailer up. The trailer weighed 3.5 tons and it had no brakes on it. And we must have put about 20 odd tons on the trailer. And we set off for this place. And it's outside of Bolton on the moors, and the road is very steep, you know, about 1 in 7 or something like that. Anyway, we made it. Burnt all the paint off the funnel, but we were there. And it took us 2 hours to unload the bloody thing. Turned the engine round, lit the lamps, because it was going dark Sunday evening, and down this big hill. And I decided, you know, the crankshaft was going round a bit too fast, so screwed the brakes on a bit, and it picked its feet up. That means, like, instead of wheels going round, you know, it was slurring like a big sledge, you see. And it was going, like, from one side of the road to the other. Anyway, by this time, we're doing about 25 miles an hour down this hill. Halfway down the hill, there's a bend in the road, not quite 45 degrees. Now, there's no way we're going to get round a 45-degree corner. So if we go straight across and drop off the edge of the road, we're in a big field. But the field has even more of a slant than the road. And at the edge of the field, there's a 14-foot drop into the back of a geriatric hospital, you see. What do? You know, so I hit the pillar. That'll slow it down a bit. So we hit this stone pillar, boom! Great rocks flying in the bloody sky. The front forks broke into 3 pieces. The front of the boiler dug an hole in the road 18 inches deep. The rollers, as look at it, hung on to the chains. If them chains had broke, the bloody rollers would have gone across the field and demolished the hospital. It'd have been like the dam busters.
Interesting book, this. Well, he's putting his props in his chimney there when he's felling it. Where's that at? Don't say, but it's pretty good. Wow. Right. Oh, didn't see you come in there, just reading the Fred Dibner Steams On. I think it was Tilly Updorf's dad owned that originally. I'll just put that out there with me over Fred Dibner, not the industrial age. Steam. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed my 3 parts. 3 parts of many locations, from seen before locations and never seen before locations. I need to thank Andy the Lens for giving me some of the locations, as well as a few I sniffed out. But Andy Lens did a lot of late night 3 AM work to find them. Also a big thank you to Patrons. It took us 6 months to save up, and then all the money and what we saved up completely disappeared in about 3 days filming. But it was well worth it. We had to really save a lot, because it was a 2 hotel bedroom jobby in my favourite hotel, Charnock Richard. And I brought 2 cameramen, not just 1, 2. I had a behind the scenes cameraman for Patreon, and a cameraman what's holding the camera now to do my YouTube. So it was a big showbiz shebang with TA. So if you've enjoyed all of that, make sure you give us a like, a subscribe, a comment below, and remember to click that big bell. Ding!